You may have seen that I travel from Paris to Bangkok around 4 times a year. After trying all the non-stop flights and many connecting options, I thought it was time to test an airline that I have never flown before, XiamenAir. This Chinese carrier gets surprisingly mixed reviews online, ranging from excellent to downright terrible. So today, I'll find out for myself whether XiamenAir deserves a place amongst the best value ways to travel between Europe and Asia. Welcome aboard for this journey from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport to Bangkok with a connection in Xiamen. Most Chinese airlines operate from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport Terminal 1, but because XiamenAir is a member of the SkyTeam Alliance alongside Air France and KLM, its flights depart from Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport Terminal 2A instead. I only had to wait in line for 10 minutes before reaching the check-in counter. In flight reports, we often talk about the cabin crew, but we rarely mention the check-in staff. And yet, they often have a very difficult job. Some passengers can be particularly demanding, if not downright unpleasant. Despite that, the agents, as was this lady here, usually remain friendly, professional, and remarkably efficient. So I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the excellent work they do, because they are, in many ways, the first phase of the airline experience. With both of my boarding passes in hand, I can now make my way calmly to passport control and security. Even though passport control is fully automated, the area looks extremely crowded, so I'm afraid it may take quite some time to get through. 26 minutes, not as long as I had expected, but I still need to clear security before I can finally relax. Only 9 minutes, this one went much faster than expected. Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport Terminal 2A and 2C were merged in 2012 and completely redesigned. Today, this part of the airport covers a total area of 16,000 square meters with significantly expanded shopping and dining facilities. And here's our aircraft for today's flight. B-2768 is an 11-year-old Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, which joined the XiamenAir fleet in 2014. Boarding begins just 10 minutes behind schedule. Here's my seat for today's flight, 45A, a window seat. The in-flight entertainment screen is rather small and comes with a somewhat outdated wide remote control. Unfortunately, it seems that our aircraft may have flown through some kind of sandstorm on its way to Paris. The window is quite dirty, and everything outside has a distinctly yellowish tint. My camera will have a hard time dealing with this, as it will often focus on the dirt and stains on the window, rather than on the scenery outside. There's a headphone jack built into the armrest, and underneath the seat, you'll also find a power outlet. There's also a USB port under the screen. The seat pitch is just adequate for someone of my height, 1.85 m or 6'1". The headphones provided are fairly basic, but that's not a point for me, as I've brought along my own noise cancelling headset. Most airlines now try to present their safety instructions in a more cinematic format, and XiamenAir is no exception. Their safety video is quite well produced and very enjoyable to watch. "23 minutes behind schedule, we are finally pushed back from the gate for our departure. Rather surprisingly, even though we were parked much closer to the south runway of Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, where these aircraft are taking off eastbound, we end up taxiing all the way to the north runway, more than 15 minutes away. Well, at least for the aviation geek that I am, this gives me an excellent opportunity to do some plane spotting. It seems that El Al has temporarily positioned some of its aircraft here in Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport as a precaution during the conflict with Iran, in order to keep them out of harm's way. Unfortunately, my DJI Pocket decided to focus on the dirt and stains on the window right at the moment of takeoff, so I won't be able to show you the full-length takeoff as I usually do. Now, let's take a look at the in-flight entertainment system. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed. Of course, this is a Chinese airline, and that is clearly reflected in the entertainment selection. There are no fewer than 67 Chinese movies available. Unfortunately, the selection of Hollywood films is much more limited, with only 25 American movies, and none of them particularly recent. There are also around 30 films from the rest of the world. Overall, this is quite a modest offering and falls well short of the much broader and more up-to-date selections typically found on Western airlines or on carriers from the Gulf. About 1 hour after takeoff, the first meal service begins. Because this flight departs from Europe, the cutlery is made of wood in order to comply with European regulations. I'm fairly certain that on the other way around, it would most likely be standard plastic cutlery instead. The food is surprisingly good, from this very tasty starter to an equally delicious main course. Our flight is scheduled to land in Xiamen at 6 AM, which corresponds to midnight in Paris. As I'm used to going to bed quite late, it's almost impossible for me to fall asleep this early on the flight. So instead, I watch a few movies. And fortunately, the crew served the second meal according to Paris time, as a proper diner, less than 6 hours after takeoff. Once again, the quality of the food, if not the look, is noticeably better than what you would typically expect from an economy class meal. Finally, after the second meal, and with the help of my noise-cancelling headset and some meditation music from the in-flight entertainment system, I managed to get about 2 hours of sleep. When I wake up, dawn is just beginning to break to the left of the aircraft, somewhere over China. We are served some rather unusual coriander-flavored crackers along with a bottle of water. They may sound a bit odd, but they are actually quite good. The IFE provides some useful information about connecting at Xiamen International Airport. As you can see, this is very much an airport built around the local carrier, XiamenAir. We arrive at the gate just 1 minute behind schedule, after a flight time of 11 hours and 8 minutes. I paid just 419 euros for this journey from Paris to Bangkok via Xiamen, including 30 euros to select my window seat. And I have to say that, compared with some of the rather negative reviews I had seen on YouTube, XiamenAir turned out to be a very pleasant surprise. The food was well above average for economy class, both the ground staff and cabin crew were consistently friendly and professional, and the flight arrived almost exactly on time. The only real weakness was the in-flight entertainment, whose movie selection clearly needs improvement. With its excellent value for money, this flight earns a very respectable 15.9 out of 20, and I would have no hesitation flying with XiamenAir again.